Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Ofir Gomeh with us. He is CEO at Capital Nature. It's going to be a fun one. Ofir has a huge background in helping startups. For example, he's chairman at Israel Export Institute Clean Tech, so a lot in the green tech sector as well. This podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start or scale a podcast, go to podpire.com. Ofir, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thank you, Charles. First of all, thank you for having me. This is exciting, and I'm so happy to share with the world, for you, our story, our angle, and what we bring to the table, and how we can work with others. So, as you were saying rightfully and pronouncing rightfully, my name is Ofir Gomeh. I'm the managing partner of a rather small to medium-sized VC based in Israel, in Tel Aviv, named Capital Nature. Capital Nature is a 12-year-old VC investing in early-stage startups in the fields of climate technologies, ranging from energy through sustainable mobility, built environment, circular economy. So everything to do with decarbonization, maybe except agtech and food tech. We usually don't tend to do these kind of investments. We're, as said, based in Israel, investing in Israeli companies. Me in person, I'm a finance guy. My education, my background is financial. I had a decade in venture capital in other fields, and then I had a decade of experience in developing projects in the climate space, whether it's solar, wind, and agricultural farms with new technologies, and then combine these two experiences together to run this fund, which is investing in technologies for climate applications.
How did you get first started in that, and why green tech specifically?
Ah, that's an easy one. We need to fix the world. I'm sure you know, and many of your audience, I'm sure you all know that we're in March of 2024. 2023 was announced as the year of the 1.5 degrees. Unfortunately, we were all hoping not to get there. We're all hoping that the world will be able to prevent itself from getting to a catastrophic point. But the point hit us. We got to 1.5 degrees increase since the early 1880s, or whenever the early 19th century. And that puts us in an even bigger problem and even a tougher situation, and we all have to give a hand and try and solve the issues. This is a global challenge. We can, stick our head in the ground as an ostrich. It won't help us. The problem is here: the flood, the fires, the icebergs. Everything is here. We see it all around, and we have to get together to make it better. I strongly believe, and we strongly believe, and that's what we're engaged in, that technology has a great impact on that, or should have an even bigger impact on that effort, on that global effort. We know that the climate challenge for us globally is usually sort of divided into adaptation and mitigation, or mitigation and adaptation, however you want to call it. In the sense of mitigation, I think that the technology has a great role to play. According to McKinsey and other analyst reports, it is considered that somewhere between around 1/3 of the solutions required for net zero in 2050 are based on technologies that have not been even invented yet. So we know that the solar energy is out there, and wind, and we know that the electric vehicles are out there as to a bigger scale and getting bigger. And we know that there are a couple more good examples of technologies that have been widely spread for around renewable energy, for example. But we also know that fossil fuels and other very polluting solutions are still around, and we have to slowly but surely, maybe quickly but surely, get rid of those.
Yeah, I agree that the world is burning, but yeah, you're in Israel and there's a war going there. Do you sometimes feel that, yeah, the priority is like protecting your country instead of saving the environment?
That's a good question. Thank you for that. Obviously, we're in a war now that has been forced by others on us. We did not want it, and I personally would love to see it over with as soon as possible and better sooner than later. By the way, war is a very polluting phenomena, right? You can see it in Ukraine and Russia. You can see it around here, unfortunately. And as you were saying, at least for the very immediate period, it sets our mind elsewhere. It takes some energy and some bandwidth to other issues. But we're focused on the ball, eyes on the ball, focused on the target. One of the saying here in the Israeli ecosystem is Israeli tech delivers no matter what. It's been published all around. We try to deliver. The high-tech sector. Israel is trying to keep on delivering. We are still facing challenges. We've just announced a new investment by Capital Nature just last week. So this is regardless of the war, we're still pushing forward. However, the war may also have, as Churchill said, why waste a good crisis? The war may also have some sort of, I would say, positive influences on the matter. All in all, it's not a positive issue, right? But we could try and make something out of it. And hopefully new technologies will come out of the different systems quicker for the sake of humanity in terms of climate challenge.
Can green tech be highly profitable?
I think that we as Captain Nature have always been dealing with the intersection of climate and defense, by the way, because a couple of our investors come from the defense world. These are technological investors, not we don't deal with defense. We are only into climate. But I think it's a good opportunity, and there's a good mutual benefit and good basis for cooperation between the defense world and the climate world, and therefore I think that's a big opportunity that we're trying to see how to leverage and put in place. You can think about examples like satellites and drones and advanced materials that are very relevant for, unfortunately, for wars, but also very relevant for cooling our planet.
Tell me about your first CEO experience at Clon. You worked there for almost 7 years.
Yes. So yeah, thank you for the question. That's an interesting one. My first experience as a CEO, as you know, higher management was a development company. We were developing solar and wind projects, mostly in Israel, but also in Cyprus and other Eastern European countries. Developing projects is very different than investing in startup companies, in being in a VC. In the development world, you have to push the regulatory forward. You have to take care of financing. You have to be very strong on the commercial side, and eventually also have to build. So this is a lot of construction, building, operations, maintenance, and financing, as I was saying earlier, on top of all of it, because end of the day, it's a return game. You need to take care of IRRs. But coming from that angle, what I do today is investing in early stage technologies for such uses helps me a lot, because I came from the sort of real world. I came from those companies that are eventually the end users of what we're trying to develop with our companies today. So if we, for example, have a company dealing with robotic autonomous cleaning for solar panels, I know how it feels and what is needed, what is required for the end customer or the end user to buy that product, and therefore it's easier for me to help the company shift from technology to product, understand market trends and what it takes. That's solar cleaning, that's copper used within PV modules, that's energy storage with a company named Ogwind, and so forth.
Your investments, did you had any exits in the green tech sector yet?
We've had 5 IPOs, and I have to say these are IPOs within the Israeli, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, which is a mid-cap, small to mid-cap stock exchange. It's not the US markets. However, we're proud to have been able to build value of almost or approximately $500 million worth of companies, coming mostly from these 5 IPOs and from other earlier stage companies. So it's 5 IPOs, of which for 2 of them we've exited, and the others we're still holding and building. And we expect to see also our first M&A exit coming up later this year.
Congrats on that. What
Thank you.
advice do you usually give to your green tech founders?
Um, we are doing a lot of effort within the ecosystem to bring on board those founders and entrepreneurs that are second timers, but from other domains, from other sectors. So Israel is very known for its strength in enterprise software, in fintech, in cybersecurity, and so forth. All these more software related domains, but that's where Israel is strong at. We're trying to take these guys and bringing them into climate. Climate is mostly about hardware. It's less about software. We need to realize that. We need to understand where the challenges are and what it takes and what's the timeline and how to build technology and to make it a product and so forth. So that the time to market, the go to market, everything is different. But we're trying to take those entrepreneurs that are second timers that have been successful with software in other domains, bring them into climate, and then help them realize and understand what it takes in our world to be successful. It's a matter of patience. It's a matter of understanding that when the time to market is longer, then the chance of you needing to pivot is bigger. Then the chances of the market moving forward and shifting to other places is bigger because it takes more time. And that's what we try to bring to the table, this help, this coaching. And hand in hand with those entrepreneurs, we usually are successful.
What is the size of check you cut generally, and what metrics are you looking for in new investment?
So our investment thesis is around climate, as I was saying. I listed earlier the list of 4 subdomains that we're looking at, from energy, mobility, circular economy, and built environment. We are looking to invest, or to invest as a lead investor, by the way, to lead invest in companies in Israel that with checks of up to $2 million. We're investing in pre-seed, seed, and round A. Seed is our sweet spot. We used to be more in pre-seed. We've shifted more into seed, and even did a couple of sort of round A investments. And so we would always lead the round, or we would hopefully lead the round. And it would always, the one more thing we're keeping in mind and making sure that takes place is for us to invest alongside foreign investors coming in to invest in Israel alongside us. We would invest, but we would like the validation, the networking, the more skin in the game of whether it's US or European or other countries' investors.
What innovations are you seeing in the sector? What's hot right now?
So that's there are those common topics that everybody talks about, from hydrogen to storage and whatever. But I want to take this opportunity of your question and take it to the direction of our recently announced new investment just from a week ago. We announced that we are now investing in a company named Philos Systems. Philos Systems is an Israeli software company actually engaged in file compression. So consider Zip as your old 30-year-old compression technology. There are other compression technologies today, but us as common users are not aware of them. But there is no big thing. There's no one good solution for compressing files today. And that means huge databases, huge data centers, a lot of data on the go all the time. And we all know the footprint, the massive environmental footprint of the data centers and their energy usage. Just by way of example, I recently heard that in Ireland, Microsoft has its biggest European data center, and that consumes 28% of the entire energy of Ireland, of the island. So the island of Ireland. So that's one thing that's super interesting for us, all this world of the data centers and chips in general, by the way, semiconductors. And that's where we went and put our money. This company is able to compress files, up to 50 and 70% of the file size for storage, and therefore its potential impact on the world is as much as up to 1% of global emissions just for this one company, this one technology. So it's an amazing impact, and we hope it'll thrive.
Interesting. How can you accelerate the startup ecosystem in Israel?
That's a good question, because what we've seen along the 3 to 4 years since 2020, I think, or early 21, is the rise of the ecosystem in climate in Israel, alongside the rise of this ecosystem around the world. We've seen huge amounts of money flowing into this ecosystem globally since, I think, 21 or 20 or so. However, as you were mentioning, because of the war and the current situation, I think that Israel is now starting to fall behind a little bit. 2023 was not a good year for the Israeli climate ecosystem, and we need to start catching up. So first of all, we need to focus on what we have. We need to focus on technologies, on good entrepreneurs and innovators. We need to focus on building our companies. The war will soon be over, I hope, and again, the sooner the better. And I hope foreign funds will continue to understand the market potential in Israel, and to keep building the ecosystem. I think that building the ecosystem must be hand in hand with other ecosystems, with neighboring ecosystems. By the way, we've had a lot of engagements with the United Arab Emirates, with Bahrain, with the other neighboring countries, and I think global crisis in climate also has its regional impact, and we, as the same region, are sort of brothers in arms in terms of climate, and we need to fight this together. And I strongly believe in that. We're doing a lot of efforts in that direction, and again, once the war is over, I hope that we'll keep on growing together.
You're chairman at the Israel Export Institute. Like, how is Israel on the export scene nowadays? What does it look like from a stats perspective, and what would you wish that Israel would export more of?
Right. So first of all, let me just make this more accurate. I'm the public chair. There's an internal chair and a public chair. I'm the public chair for the climate sector of the Israeli Export Institute, just the climate sector. So I'm not the chairman of the institute itself. And a word about that, I believe in ecosystem building, as you were asking earlier, and I am making myself available and happy to contribute to anything I can on a widest national scale, and making sure that the ecosystem keeps on building and growing. And that's my other role out of Capital Nature. Now, the Israeli export has, over the last 2 decades at least, has been heavily reliable on high tech in general, on technologies in general, including climate. But in climate, I think we only have a couple of very good examples, such as SolarEdge, which is the most known one. I think also Enlight is an Israeli company traded on the Nasdaq for a couple of billions. And a couple of more companies were sold to Google, to Microsoft, and so forth in the climate ecosystem. But I think in terms of export, that what we've seen since the outbreak of the Ukraine-Russian war is a dramatic rise in defense-related exports from Israel. This is, in terms of monetary value, this is good news. But in terms of making the world a cooler place, this is not good news. And us depending on wars is also not good news. So I truly believe and hope that taking these technologies from the defense sector, as I was saying earlier, into climate is something we should be excelling with and looking a decade ahead. So I'm working on that. That's my mission.
How do you separate your time nowadays? What does a day in your life look like?
Well, it's been a rough first 3 to 4 months since the war broke in early October. So the first few months were hectic. A lot of people around me, within my family and around me, have been called to Army Reserve, and a lot of casualties, which is super sad. And there was a lot of interruption to ongoing work. But we're back to work. We're back on our feet, and I think in the last couple of months, we're working business as usual and delivering no matter what, as I was saying earlier. And so today, I think life is more or less more or less in the normal course of business, us trying to develop the companies we work with, trying to raise funds, trying to push the technology, and to come up with new solutions for a decarbonized world.
And yeah, your day to day, like at what time do you wake up? What activities do you do to uh, keep yourself productive? Any fitness, any meditation? Like, give us the details.
Okay. Sure. Luckily for me, my kids are by now grown up. My oldest is 22. By the way, he's a chemist student, so he's also into the climate world soon. And my younger daughter, my younger two daughters or twins are 16 years old, so they don't need me too much. So I have my time to engage with my work and my hobbies. I jog. I just jogged today. I jog, I mountain bike a little bit over the weekends, and I do yoga once a week. So it's for me, it's yoga once a week. It's mountain cycling over the weekend around my house, and jogging a couple more times a week. By the way, I travel to work. I work in Tel Aviv, but I live up north outside of Tel Aviv, an hour and a half. I travel by scooter and train, so I don't use my private car to go to work. Unfortunately, in Israel, the public transportation is not developed enough, and most of the people take their own private cars to work. Unlike, I think, most big European cities and US, and so I try to change that on a personal level, and I'm taking the train to work every day and trying to pollute as less as I can. So that's more or less.
Very cool. What are your top three goals this year as a CEO, as an investor?
My top goal for this year is raising funds. We need to raise our next fund. We were on the verge of raising a new fund by within the fourth quarter of last year, but then the war broke and took us a step back, unfortunately. We're back to business, and we're back to not to square one, but we're back to trying and raise this fund. We are engaged with it. The Israeli government is helping on that, fortunately for us, so that's a push forward. And the first and foremost goal is to raise our next fund. Should be around $100 million to enable us to raise our tickets to $4 or $5 million, and to keep on investing in seed to round A companies, more round A, and even step outside of Israel. I was hoping to step outside of Israel towards the neighboring countries. I hope that will be enabled this year. And my second goal is, as I was saying earlier, our first M&A. So we had enough of IPOs. We want our first M&A. That's coming up this year. So that's another goal. And, I want to see a better world. I want to see less wars around the world, locally and globally, less wars, more friendly faces, and more efforts put towards the direction of decarbonization. That's what I want to see.
Where can people find out more about you, Ofir?
By the way, maybe one word before that. One more thing I do is I volunteer in a group named Tech to Peace. Tech to Peace is funded by Google, Microsoft, USAID, and others, and is trying through technologies to bridge between Israelis and Palestinians in the West Bank. It was working very well along the 2-3 years before the war. It's now in kind of freeze, to be honest, but I hope it'll be back. It'll be back to work as soon as possible. So that's also one thing that should keep us busy in the next year. I can be found on my LinkedIn page according to my name, Ofir Gomeh. We have a website for Capital Nature. That's capitalnature.com. And you can find me in these two places. I'll respond quickly, and I'm happy to be in touch with anyone who wants to, anyone who sees these targets as I do.